President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu projected a message of unity at their first official summit at the White House on Wednesday. The meeting follows a long period of rocky U.S.-Israel relations under the previous president. VOA's Bill Gallo has more.
A fresh start for U.S.-Israel relations. That's the message conveyed by U.S. President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu Wednesday.
The United States again reaffirms our unbreakable bond with our cherished ally, Israel.
The two leaders found common ground on countering radical Islamic terrorism and making sure Iran doesn't get nuclear weapons.
Mr. President, you've shown great clarity and courage in confronting this challenge head-on. You call for confronting Iran's terrorist regime, preventing Iran from realizing this terrible deal into a nuclear arsenal.
Trump and Netanyahu have enjoyed a close relationship, made only closer during the U.S. presidential campaign. Many Israelis were encouraged by Trump's promise to move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. But so far, Trump hasn't followed through.
We're looking at it with great care, believe me, and we'll see what happens.
On the issue of Israeli settlements, Trump has also shifted from a keep-going position during the presidential campaign to now urging Netanyahu to temporarily pause settlement expansion.
So what does this reset mean for Middle East peace? To help us out, I'm joined in the studio by our State Department correspondent, Nike Ching, who's making her debut here on VOA's The Correspondents. Welcome, Nike. And, of course, our White House correspondent, Mary Alice Salinas, who's decided to join us for a second segment. Thank you both for joining us. Mary Alice, just looking at this report, there's no question these two leaders like each other. But besides that, besides the jovial feelings between the two, did we learn anything new going forward on U.S.-Israel relations?
Well, the policy is taking shape. But what was stunning was President Trump saying, we will pursue a peace deal. It will be decided upon by the Israelis and the Palestinians. Whatever deal you like, I like. It doesn't have to be a two-state solution.
That's kind of breaking with way decades about something of policy that has been seriously U.S. policy for, like you said, many, many decades.
Yeah, it was something that had been hinted at, but he out and out said it, that it doesn't have to be a one-state solution. On the other hand, he also turned to the Prime Minister at one point and said, well, to get this deal done, we're going to have to compromise. You know that, don't you? And right. It was kind of a muted response.
Does this suggest that the U.S. may be shifting on its position in terms of a two-state solution for the Middle East?
At least in the eyes of the experts and analysts and the Palestinians, right. They think it's a shift from the decades-long U.S. foreign policies. Because the U.S. has been saying that two states, one state of Israel and Palestine live side by side. And so the one-state solution not going to pursue the independent state for Palestinians.
To both of you, I'm wondering, how do Palestinians feel about that? This has sort of been a cornerstone of what they want. They want a Palestinian state.
Well, it was incredibly concerning, to say the least. From the Palestinian side, they say, America, if you take this route, you will undermine your credibility, undermine your standing in the world, because I think for decades, just almost universally, the two-state solution is seen as the only way to obtain peace there. As Nike mentioned, two states living peacefully side by side. And so it's very, very worrisome for the Palestinians. So
that's still to be decided, how we move forward, because I know Benjamin Netanyahu has already, been reported as saying he is opposed to the two-state solution. But Nike, besides this issue that is still kind of fluid right now in terms of the two-state solution, one thing both leaders did talk about at great length was their distrust of Iran. Tell me what was decided there. Was anything decided? Are they planning on getting rid of the agreement or what?
Well, one thing both leaders is Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump, they really align on the tough stance against Iran. But what I heard the debate now, the argument in Washington is not so much of get rid of the 2015 JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal. Rather, it's more to enforce, how to enforce the contents. So, for example, just yesterday, Secretary Tillerson met with his counterpart, with the French foreign minister, and then so after the meeting, it's a G20 foreign ministerial on the margin. So after the meeting, the French foreign minister said that the French is going to review from scratch the deal, and then so the pool reporter is asking Tillerson, well, did you leave any impression to the French side that the United States going to get rid of the deal? And he said firmly, I do not leave such impression. So right now it's not so much of that.
There's a lot of nuance in the current U.S. policy on the Iran agreement, because I think we have to be sensitive to the fact that this is an agreement involving the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. Any move we make would affect them, wouldn't it?
It would be incredibly problematic for the United States. It would affect them too. And, again, America's credibility and whether or not it keeps its promises and deals. But it's seen, I would agree with Nike, it seems like the push is more to enforce what we have, be it the Iran nuclear deal. Really, I think the president and the prime minister are saying, looking at ways to be really tough in enforcement, and also around activities throughout the whole region, or malevolent sort of activities dabbling and causing problems throughout the whole region. And so looking at toughening up those sanctions as well. So that seems to be where they're moving. One quick point, though, President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who's also a top advisor, the wife of Trump's son, has known Benjamin Netanyahu since he was very young. In fact, the prime minister came and stayed at their home once when he was young, and the prime minister Netanyahu stayed in his bedroom.
That explains why Benjamin Netanyahu was so happy.
So there's a tremendous sense of warmth. Like, he's known this kid, and so the ties are very, very close.
But Mr. Netanyahu cannot be very happy. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley obviously has already iterated the previous policy, the previous administration's policy that Israel, you need to sort of slow down on your settlement building. Are we learning anything new about that? Is the White House trying to discourage Israel from building new settlements in the West Bank?
Indeed. So President Trump actually said that I will caution you to hold back a little bit on the settlement activity. He knows how sensitive, how provocative in the eyes of the Palestinians of Israel settlement activity in the West Bank.
Yeah, he did tell him I would appreciate if you'd hold off on that a bit. He says, I think we can make a deal. I think we're going to make a deal.
So what we see here basically is that these two leaders get along very well together, but we still don't really have anything concrete in terms of policy.
Right,
Do I get
They're
that
both
correct?
very cautious about how they're approaching this.
Well, I thank you both for this discussion. I suspect there will be a lot more to talk about in the coming weeks and months. Thank you so much, Nike, and thank you, Mary Alice.